RunDNA has an extensive range of running and walking footwear. They're trusted by podiatrists and physiotherapists. The RunDNA fitter's advice is second to none. Pop into RunDNA, 20 Manton Street, Hindmarsh, or 391 Fullarton Road, Fullarton. They're open 7 days, plenty of off-street parking. If you walk or run, you need to RunDNA.
Welcome to Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's weekly sports wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define sport across South Australia. It's time for Hooked on Sport with two-time Bradman medalist Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Thanks, Wallace. G'day, Soph.
Hey, Hooky, how are you going? How's your week been so far?
Great week. Thank you for asking. Excited for the big game, Adelaide versus Hawthorn on Friday. I've just rushed back. It's very late on a Tuesday night. Thank you for waiting for me, for both of you. But I've just come back from presenting Golden Grove Football Club's Jake Pittman the Keith Sims medal. How's this? It's his third medal in 4 years, and the year that he didn't win it, he was runner-up. So he won the Div 3 medal in 2022. They were promoted, Golden Grove, into Division 2. He won the Division 2 medal in 2023. They got promoted again. He was runner-up last year and has won it this year. So that's an incredible record, isn't it? There's something about the super midfielder that we've seen at AFL level. It started with Chris Judd. It's become Nick Dacos and Patrick Cripps. We've seen it with Tom Lewis in the SNFL, and we have the super midfielder now in the Adelaide Footy League, the Ammos as well, and Jake Pittman is certainly that inside, tough, nuggety midfielder who I think there was 6 games in a row where he got first preference votes. 6 in a row, 18 votes in 6 games. Staggering stuff. So, yeah, congratulations to Jake. So that's where I was, but so glad to be with you both.
Just an incredible achievement. Talking about going and emceeing events, though, Ben, I had an interesting story come up last week about this energy industry night. Can you believe it?
Well, did you say energy?
Yeah.
I think I know where this might be going.
Where the MC was late. Don't happen to know anything about that, do you?
Oh, I cannot believe I've been outed here. Yeah. All right. Let's come clean.
I'm ready
is tough
for it.
To admit to. I, for the last 5 or 6 years, have been the Master of Ceremonies for the Australian Institute of Energy SA Branch Awards. They present 3 awards. They'll induct someone into their Hall of Fame. There's a best project and there's a best young energy professional. And that has always been on a Wednesday night in around about August. And, of course, this year they decided to put it on a Tuesday night. And I did not quite get the memo. They did send me the memo, but I didn't quite account for that. So at 6:30 on Tuesday night, I get a phone call from the event organizer saying, just wondering where you are because all of the people are here for pre-dinner drinks and we're about 15, 20 minutes away from starting. Well, where was I? I was at the show with my wife and daughter. We were playing, the ping pong game. Put the ping pong balls in the clown's mouth. It cost us $20. There's a story there as well. At that particular point in time, I get the phone call saying, just wondering how far away you are. So I've got to take the call and say, there has been a minor disaster. I will do as well as I possibly can, but I don't think we're starting at 7. So ran to the car, left my wife and child at the show without a car. That was going to be an issue that I was going to have to deal with later in the evening. Raced to the car, got home, shaved, showered, in my suit, shirt, tie, and at the wine centre for the function at 7:14. So got the function done. Was a little rattled. Just thought I may as well concede and tell everyone how this has all played out. Of course, Institute of Energy, I did make the point that don't worry about the rising price of energy bills because the rising price of putting 5 ping pong balls in a clown's mouth is far more significant, in my opinion. But yes, Soph, your spies are pretty much 100% correct. I did run late for a function. We got there in the end. I think we did finish on time, but I was awfully rattled when I took that phone call that I was in jeans and tracksuit jacket and supposed to be in suit and tie out at the wine centre.
Well, there you go, Wallace. He's not just late for us, but he's also late for massive events. So I feel a bit better about that, actually.
People don't want to hear any more about my stupid stories, but they do want to hear your opinion, Soph, on the Adelaide Crows and Hawthorn on Friday. You were very confident going into the game against Collingwood. I was a little less so. Not going to say that I'm right and you're wrong, but are you tempered in your confidence in the Crows this weekend?
No, look, yes, Hooky, I was extremely confident going into that game. And you know what? I'm actually remaining confident. It's obvious Hawthorn are going to ride a bit of that momentum, right? Crows have a bit of pressure. It's actually been 42 years since a team who finished top of the ladder then get knocked out with back-to-back defeats. But you know what? Our boys are going to make that 43 years, Hooky.
It's first versus eighth, Soph, and you would think, well, in a semi-final, 1v8, that should be a pretty comfortable result. I love your stat. I didn't know that. 42 years and the top team hasn't been knocked out in straight sets. Here's my stat that probably counters that. Since this Final Eight system has come into play, there's been sort of two streams. Before the 2016 changeover, where we went to a pre-finals bye, and then after. In the years beforehand, it really happened very rarely. There were 32 teams that played in qualifying finals, and only 3 of them went out in straight sets. It happened 9% of the time. So we used to always worry about, the team that's lost as a qualifying finalist, the elimination finalist has all the momentum, and it never happened. But that's completely changed since the pre-finals bye. It happens 44% of the time. So right now, I think the Adelaide Crows, 50-50 chance. That's what it says statistically, and that's how I feel like they are going into this game, which is a bit disappointing considering it is 1 versus 8. So, yeah, I don't have the confidence that I would like to have. I do think what they need to do, Soph, is play with a little bit more flair and freedom. They were very stiff against Collingwood. I would even say they were meek is probably an unreasonable word, but they seemed a bit passive to me. And they're going to have to bring a completely different brand if they're going to be successful on Friday night.
No, 100% agree. They actually looked a little bit, they looked so nervous. It looked like they just hadn't had finals experience before. But they have now had finals experience. They've had their first go at it. And, Hooky, I'm keeping the faith.
What did you make of the booing last week?
Look, it's a hard one. I don't reckon it's really in the spirit of the game, if I'm being honest. I mean, I'm not always a big fan for the booing when it comes to being a fan. What were your thoughts?
I think it was a really poor moment for the Adelaide Football Club and its fans, but I do feel like this membership, this fan base, will learn its lesson pretty quickly. Yeah, that was a miss. It was a big miss. I think back to the Adam Goods booing saga, and there were supporter bases that were told not to boo, and that was almost like an incentive to boo even harder. I'm confident in the Adelaide fan base and us as a town and the way we see ourselves that'll get righted this week. It was bad. It was embarrassing. We should be disappointed. And I think the league and the club should be disappointed that they had to have seen that something like this was brewing. The Adelaide Oval put more security on. Everything about the way this game built up was that it was going to be spicy, it was going to be tense, there was going to be some genuine spite to it. And someone had to get in front of that and say, yeah, look, we understand that there's some rivalry going on here, but we cannot be disrespectful. And we missed the boat as a league and a club and a fan base. And I do think the fan base in particular will get that right this time around.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Want to get into some local sports news?
Yep, let's do it.
I thought it's just worth touching on. We've touched on the Adelaide Footy League medal, which is Jake Pittman. Congratulations to him. The Rugby Union South Australia medals were last weekend. Rugby Union doesn't get a lot of media here in South Australia, but it's a really good, strong, robust competition. And we've touched on Old Collegians who've been very strong as the leading team in the men's premier competition. But I just want to congratulate the Edna Riley medalist, who was the best and fairest female player in the Division 1 women's competition. That was won by Victoria Cousins of Woodville. Interestingly enough, she now has 3 other teammates who are Edna Riley medalists who all play for Woodville. So Abby Chitty's won it twice. Zahn Anthony won it in 2020 and Anna Ikahihifo won it in 2023. So that's not a bad record for Woodville. And then the men's award was won by Keanu Eliepa of the Burnside Rugby Club, and he's been a star of this competition for a couple of years now. So just wanted to congratulate both of them, our Edna Riley and Don Smith medalists for season 2025 in local rugby. Hey, just one other story I'll share with you about Tracy Filippa, who played her 400th game of club lacrosse for the Woodville Lacrosse Club. So Woodville have done really well this year. They're in the Division 1 and the State League Grand Final. That's on Saturday afternoon. Tracy's played 400 games last weekend, and they are the ultimate lacrosse family. So she's the daughter of Sue Hogan, who is just an all-time legend of South Australian lacrosse. Her husband, Ant, still plays. Their son, Liam, is the goalkeeper for the men's State League team. They've got a daughter, Caitlin, who's coming through the junior grades now. And Tracy's nephews, Sean and Daniel, who are both part of the men's State League team, and her brother-in-law, so brother of her husband, Ant, Richard, who's the twin brother, actually, he also plays in Division 1 as well. So they've all got incredible records in lacrosse, but Tracy Filippa, 400 games last week. It's a massive achievement, in particular when you're a mum and you're probably going to run around and play with your daughter at some point as well. I reckon I just love little stories like that, Soph.
Yeah, incredible story. Well, can I take you to some of the sports that I've come up with in SA this week?
Please.
Yeah, so I'm looking over at the cycling at the sassy athlete Emily Petricola. She's just won gold in the C3 time trial at the UCI Paracycling Road World Championship, which just held in Belgium. This comes just 1 year after a triumph in 2024 Paris Olympics, and I think she's just an inspiration and a competitor, a massive achievement for Emily.
Good story, Soph. Well done. Can I share with you a couple of 350 gamers from country footy? I don't think there's a week that goes by when I don't start talking about country footy. Just want to recognise Chris Williams, who played his 350th game for South Gambia in the Limestone Coast League. 254 A-grade games. He's now playing and coaching in the Bees. They've got a grand final in a fortnight. And Scott Collison played his 350th game for Central Whyalla last weekend. That's in the Whyalla League. He's still playing A-grade as the club president, which is pretty incredible. They're into the grand final next weekend. He's been the competition's leading goal kicker 5 times. The most recent was 2023. The first of them was 2004. So have a think about that. The leading goal kicker, not just for his club, but at the competition in 2004, then 5, 6, 19, and 2023. So congratulations to both of them, 350 games, what icons of their footy clubs.
Huge achievement. Well, I want to take you over to the athletics now, Ben. At Tara Palm, selected in the Australian athletics team to compete in Tokyo, she'll be running the marathon. This is her first selection for a World Cup. She comes from a background of middle distance and cross country, though, Ben. Now at the age of 40, she's hitting the elite marathon ranks. Just a very cool story.
It is. I follow the distance running pretty closely. I think Izzy Bat-Doyle was originally penciled in for that spot, but she's chosen the 10K, which is kind of like her pet event. She'll progress to the marathon as her main distance, I think, Izzy Bat-Doyle. But she's going to run the 10K. She wants to run in that Olympic stadium, which, of course, she's done before at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. So Bat-Doyle's choice to go there, I think, opened the door for Palm, making your debut for Australia at that level. She has represented Australia before in cross-country and some other meets, but to go to a World Championships representing Australia for the first time, age 40, Wallace, there's hope for you and me, mate.
Indeed, Hooky.
I was just about to say that as a fellow marathon runner, do you really feel, there is hope when she's age 40 making her first debut for Australia?
Well, just imagine what she's going to be like when she's 52. She might sneak inside 4 hours 40. Amazing news from up in the Hills Footy League last week, guys. Hahndorf Footy Club sacked their coach, Matt Golding. They didn't renew his contract, so he's finished up at the club. He did 8 years, 7 grand finals and 5 flags. Has gone 128-15 in his career, and he's been moved on. What do you got to do? That's tough, isn't it? Matt Golding, big name, 96 games for Glenelg, 7 games for the Crows. I've had a bit to do with him. Lovely fella, stunning. I think he's going to have a few other calls to coach at rival clubs, I would have thought. 128-15, 5 flags, out.
And a huge week for South Australian lacrosse, Ben. We have some massive South Australian selections in the Australian lacrosse team heading over to Canada from 10th of October to the 12th. For the women, we have Holly Dinny, Olivia Parker, Jordan Watts from Woodville. And from Glenelg, we have Jess Morrison. And for the men, we have Jack Price from Brighton. Just a massive achievement for South Australian lacrosse.
4 women in the team. That's quite incredible. 3 of them from Woodville. So we're potentially starting to see the power base just shift a little bit in women's lacrosse. Brighton have won the last 7 flags. They're in the grand final again this week, but it is against Woodville, who were in the grand final last year. So that is just a little side story to all of that. But that Australian Sixers team, we're a couple of years away, but it's kind of like the people that are going to potentially be looking at to go to the LA Games in 2028. So just keep an eye out for those 5 names: Holly Dinny, Jess Morrison, Olivia Parker, Geordie Watts, Jack Price. Geordie Watts' dad is the commentator for lacrosse, hands down the number one. If you listen to Tony Watts, he's a scream. Not only is he really accurate, he's a smart caller, but he can add some humour to it as well. So imagine Jordan Watts, who's a goalkeeper. Imagine she's in goals and Dad's calling the games at the Olympics. Do not rule that out. Hey, just one more very quickly that I came across today. The Chad Sayers rule has been brought into Adelaide turf cricket. What's the Chad Sayers rule? Excellent question. They have had a rule that says you are allowed to play 1 week in the Adelaide turf competition and not the next week, or vice versa. But you can only do that from B1 down. And so Chad Sayers, former Test cricketer, couldn't play 1 week but could play the second week. So fronted up and played the second week, but I could only do it in B1, made 200. And so someone's come to the realisation, maybe it's time, even if you can't play 1 week but can play the other, that will let you play in A1s. So that rule has been changed solely on the strength of the fact that Chad Sayers scored 200 in a B grade game. Not out, I think, as well. So well done to the Adelaide turf. Shut the gate after the horses bolted, but probably a good rule to stop Chad Sayers belting around B and C grade blokes. Happened to concede that I might have done the same thing a few years back for Prince Alfred when I could only play 1 week. But that's another story. We don't need to talk about me. Wallace, there's so much news there. We could talk about this forever, but why don't you start to think about what's next for Hooked on Sport?
It's time to see which athletes have been selected this week in Sophie's Star and Ben's Best.
Ben, I've got another cracker for you for Sophie's Star of the Week. I'm going to Port Adelaide AFLW star Matilda Schultz. Now, for the listeners that might have got a chance to watch it, I know there was a lot of football on this weekend, but Port Adelaide had a record-breaking game last weekend against the Gold Coast Suns, and Matilda was an invaluable player to that game, having a dominant display, positional shifts in the ruck position, 4 goals, 22 disposals, 16 hitouts, 6 clearances, and 14 score involvements. Just a massive achievement.
Yeah, and honestly, that will be 3 votes as well. She might go on and win an AFLW medal. I wouldn't put that past her. Played some cricket with her dad, David Scholes, giving away my age a little bit here. Her mum, Peter Squire, is an Australian netballer. So she's got some pedigree, but don't worry, Matilda Scholes is making her own name in a completely different sport. She is a superstar. And yeah, they lost to West Coast Eagles last week, but she was very, very good then as well. So wonderful Sophie's Star for the week. Great choice. I think it's just worth sharing the story of Tom Lewis, who's won the Magarey Medal for Sturt, as I talked about at the top of the show. One of these super midfielders who is just, when he gets on, he is dominant. I think he polled maximum votes every game between round 13 and round 18 this year. And he's come from an incredibly difficult base. He did his ACL in 2019, which was the year after he missed out in the draft. In 2022, he ruptured his spleen on the Saturday, didn't know what had happened, reported in sick to the doctor on Monday, and well done to the Sturt doctors who thought, this doesn't seem right, and rushed him into hospital. Had they have not done so, he may have died. He was told he would never play football again. And he has just said, no, I'll sort that out. I'll overcome it. It's taken him over a year to fully recover, got back into playing in 2023, and here he is now as the 2025 Magarey medalist. So Tom Lewis, the Magarey medalist for the Sturt Football Club, he is Ben's best for this week, Wallace.
Fair or farce, Sophie and Ben challenge each other with their sporting conundrums.
All right, Hooky, first one of the night. Andrew Dillon is not up to the job. Fair or farce?
Oh, Andrew Dillon, he's had a tough week. I'm surprised he didn't lose more bark over the whole Penfolds wine bet saga. Might be a discussion for another day. I think this is fair, Soph. I mean, Andrew Dillon, as the CEO of the AFL, is swimming in a deep pool when it comes to big, top-end, powerful leaders. And I feel like the AFL leadership looks positively weak, in particular compared to the NRL, which is led by Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo. I think Goyder and Dillon have been miles off by comparison, and Richard Goyder, as the head of the AFL Commission, is clearly going to be making his way in the coming weeks, and no one from Clubland is going to be upset by that. Andrew Dillon's been really inconsistent. He lacks clarity. He comes across as awkward in front of a camera, and that's completely at odds with what we saw with Gillon McLachlan and the way that he just dealt with difficult issues with such strength and such purpose and such clarity. So, yeah, it's interesting as well, isn't it? They seem to be really relying on bringing in big names from Clubland to try and cover up their own foibles and failings at AFL level. So I think it's fair. I do think Andrew Dillon is not up to the AFL CEO's job. That might be a new commission chairman's job to try and replace him in the next 3 to 5 years.
I actually completely agree with you, Hooky. I mean, I've got to look at AFL, right? The first thing that I turn to is the players, but the next thing I actually normally turn to is the CEO. I think they're the face of the AFL. I think he's too shy in front of the camera. He takes too long to make decisions, and I think he's actually really a fence sitter. I mean, let's just get this ball rolling. Stand on your ground and go. You're the CEO. You make the final decision, and I want you to face the media and tell me that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, announce and defend rather than consult and then decide. You're well done, Soph. Good point. A fence sitter. That's probably a pretty accurate description. Soph, here's one for you. The qualifying finals were boring and the elimination finals were excellent. 2 more knockout games in the bye week is a no-brainer.
Ben, I think you're just setting me up so that you can have your own rant here and go on all about how you want this new final system, but, whatever. When you can't go on your own rant now because I've given you a yellow card, you might as well ask me the question. So you'll be surprised to know that I'm going farce here. Sorry. Look, I know it's how the VFL currently operates, and look, there's a fight at the moment in that bye week to be a top 10 qualifier, and they fight out for that 7th and 8th spot. But you know what? I think sometimes too much of a good thing is just too much, and it can turn it a bit sour. Let's look at the Big Bash for a second here. They tried to lengthen the season and make it longer, and people just got bored and they had to shorten it right up. So I'm going fast, but I'm looking forward to your response.
I think farce as well, but for completely different reasons that you think. The games last weekend don't matter. It was a no-brainer anyway. You have this bye week and just keep changing your reason for the justification of it. Sometimes it's the AFLW, then it's concussion, then it's we want everyone to be rested. Just fill it with some decent footy, for goodness sake. I think it is a no-brainer, but it's not because the elimination finals were great and the qualifying finals were boring. It's because we should just do it anyway.
I didn't see that coming, Wallace. I thought he was totally fair. I thought he was getting up on his soapbox, but he always surprises me with these ones. So I'm going to throw one straight back at you, Hooky. If Pat Cummins can't front up for the first test, Australia's Ashes campaign is cooked. Fair or farce?
Oh, it's farce because we're not cooked, but gee, we're seriously compromised. And if he can't play the first test, I think he probably struggles for the second test because they're only a week apart. The third test isn't far. That's the Adelaide test, of course, isn't far behind that. I mean, it's not a disaster because Scott Boland comes into the team and he has been a true champion every time he's been handed the baggy green for Australia. But What's next? I don't think anyone knows if there is one injury between Stark and Boland and Hazelwood, and that's almost inevitable that comes. Who's the next bowler after that? I don't think even the Australian selectors know who that is yet. And then the other thing I'd say about Pat Cummins, and as much as Steve Smith would be the alternative captain and is a good captain, Pat Cummins is a wonderful leader. His capacity to remain calm under the pressure and stress of a series like the Ashes is first class. If he's not there for the first test, England is going to come all guns blazing. They're probably going to have Jofra Archer. They may well have Mark Wood as well. They're going to hit us with everything in the first test. And if Cummins isn't there, I worry about how we respond. And therefore, we are seriously compromised. Not cooked, but seriously compromised. So if you know your cricket, what do you think?
Wow, it's been a very nice night so far. I actually agree with you. I don't think it will be cooked. I think it will be hampered if he can't play the majority of the test, albeit the first test. Look, you're right. I reckon Boland will be his replacement, and I think England are going to target this. If they are successful, Stark and Hazelwood will have to back sooner, bowl more overs, and this could play dividends later on in the series. So I think it's hampered, but I don't think it's cooked. I actually think, and I know I asked this question and I've just had a go at you about getting up on your soapbox. I think the more interesting issue that's upcoming is I think if Stokes misses out, England's campaign is going to be rocked. And I think that's an interesting point of conversation.
No, very good point. But I'll just make the point, if you're going to accuse me of rants, and then it's inevitable when you point the finger at someone, that means you've got three fingers pointing back at yourself. Sophie, just remember that little saying. I've got one more for you. We might get into the power rankings afterwards. Have a think about this, Soph. Forget AFLW, forget netball, forget golf, distance running, or hockey. Our women's cricketers are the state's pride and joy. Fair or farce?
Farce. Hooky, I'm a massive advocate for female sport and specifically South Australian female sport. So with that being said, I have to go farce. I'm a strong believer in looking at where sport is at our youth. I think it dictates how well a state is going, looking at not just where we are now, but where we are going in the longevity of our success. So I know this has just broken out that Indra Pinelli and AJ Willoughby have just been chosen in the Australian under-19 squad to tour Sri Lanka next month in the cricket, and I think that's an incredible achievement. But let's look at our own Reagan Denton, who we actually interviewed recently, the amateur golfer selected to represent Australia at the Espirito Santo Trophy in October. Let's look at hockey. Hattie Shand and Lucy Sharman, both young, just represented Australia in Darwin. And if we're looking at the SA girls historically for AFLW, I mean, you've got to look at the Crows, how incredible they've been. I think they're the most successful club in the AFLW competition at the moment. And then can we forget the Thunderbirds? They're just absolutely incredible. They're a state icon. I think they're the one and only team to win a trophy in all three eras of that league. So I think SA women's sport is just incredible, and it's actually just women's sport in general that is the pride and joy of South Australia. I think our cricket's incredible, but I can't say it's the sole pride and joy.
Soph, I would agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. It is absolutely fair. Our cricketers are the state's pride and joy. They are world class. I just want to recognise Megan Shute, Darcy Brown and Talia McGrath. They're all going to the World Cup in India to represent Australia, a team that has been world beaters time and time and time again. All three of them are local South Australian products. Megan Shute and Talia McGrath have come from the southern suburbs. Darcy Brown has come from Kapunda. Those three, all incredible stories. Their longevity at the level. I mean, Darcy Brown's still young, so you can't claim that she's had longevity. But Megan Shute, Talia McGrath and Darcy Brown, I think right now, those three, as cricketers representing South Australia and Australia, are the pride and joy over and above all of those very, very worthy contenders that you've referred to, who come in on the podium, but not at the top where my three stand. Well done to Megan Shute, Darcy Brown, Talia McGrath, the state's pride and joy.
Fair enough. I thought we were going to have a really nice, fair and fast where we're just really agreeable, slight different points. But nope, you just gotta fall off with one like that.
You made an excellent argument, Sophie. You shouldn't feel ashamed. It was just wrong. That was all.
All right, Wallace, I think we need to get to power rankings before we start to have a brawl on our hands.
In Hooky's Power Rankings, Ben reviews every state National League team based in South Australia. Perform well and you're a chance to make the top 10.
Wallace, thank you. Yes, the power rankings, of course. I've been getting a couple of clips from my co-hosts, whether it's on air or off air. So I'm going to try and wheel through these as quickly as I possibly can, and I'm going to limit it to 10. Northeast Hockey Club, the women, in 10th spot. They lost in penalties to Seacliff. They've got to go through a preliminary final against the Adelaide Hockey Club, but I reckon they're a chance to bounce back and make their way through to the grand final. Seacliff women are in 9th. They were 1-1 and then 3-2 in penalties over Northeast, as we were just talking about. So they go to 9th spot. In 8th spot, the Seacliff men's team, they defeated your mob Burnside 6-2 in the second semi-final. So that's a real reality check for the Bulldogs. Burnside will meet Port in the prelim. Seacliff will have the luxury week off and be ready for the grand final in a fortnight's time. So Seacliff chasing the men's and women's double, which is a big story in South Australian hockey. At 7th position, the Glenelg men's lacrosse team. They had the week off. They'll meet Brighton next week. In 6th spot, the Crows have dropped all the way down there. They've got to play Hawthorn on Friday night. We've talked about that. In 5th spot is Old Collegians. They had the week off. They'll play Burnside next week. So Old Collegians chasing an undefeated season. Burnside are through after defeating Brighton, and they are the three heavyweights of men's rugby union here in South Australia. In position number 4, the Brighton women's lacrosse team, they had the week off. They're chasing their 8th straight flag. We've already referenced that. Woodville were surprise winners over Glenelg, so that's the grand final matchup at Woodville. So do not rule them out. They've come from 3rd. They haven't looked like it all year, but suddenly they come into that grand final with a bit of momentum. In 3rd spot, Metro Stars. So they had the 2-leg semi-final against Adelaide United. They won the away leg 1-0. The home leg 2-1. They're into the grand final of the NPL SA. Position number 2. This will be a bit of a shock for you guys. It's Adelaide Cobras, who have won 1-0 over Campbelltown City in the Women's NPL SA Grand Final. We did not mention them all year, but they have bloused West Adelaide, as we remember, in the second semi-final, who then missed out to Campbelltown in the preliminary final. So here they are, Cobras, top of the tree with a 1-0 win over Campbelltown. Congratulations to them. They will come out of the rankings after this week, but they finish in 2nd position in the top spot. The Sturt Footy Club, second semi-final winners over Glenelg by 42 points. It was dominant. They get another week off, and they will wait to play in the SANFL Grand Final in a fortnight, guys.
Well, I believe short, sharp, and shiny were your words used to describe your power rankings this week. I don't know if I can go completely shiny if you're dropping my Crows down to, I think, number 6 position.
Look, as soon as I finished the order, Soph, I knew that I was going to get some sort of complaint from you. No surprise. Wallace, it looks like you're there with something you want to beef about as well.
Well, I was just surprised that the Crows had dropped so much as well, Hooky. I couldn't believe it. I was going to ask you, what score are you predicting on Friday night?
I think they were lucky to hold 6th spot, the Adelaide Crows. They've had some good form coming in, but my word, all of the other teams behind them except Northeast were winners, and they held their spot. They were very lucky to be 6th. Do I think they're going to win? Yeah, I do, but I do think that they've got a lot of work to do to bring some flair to their game. They've got to work out a way to transition the ball from when they win it at half back and get it inside 50. That has been a real sticking point for them. Collingwood absolutely found them out with pressure and made them play a really conservative brand. If they can fix that, they can beat Hawthorn. But Hawthorn are a very good side.
Hooky, I hope I'm sitting nowhere near you at the footy. I don't need this negative energy anywhere near me.
I feel like Eddie Jones at that press conference that he did before he was going to a World Cup and was grizzling about all of the media being so negative about the Australian team. And he said, I've got to have a shower. I've got all this negativity dripping all over me. That'll be you, Soph. You need a shower from my negativity.
100%. But I'm looking forward to the game this weekend, and I'm sure you are too.
A great chat tonight, guys. Always love it.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy Friday. That stumps on another episode of Hooked on Sport. We appreciate you listening and trust you enjoy the show. Help us reach more sports-minded people just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company next week on Hooked on Sport.
If you're enjoying this podcast, I'd encourage you to take a listen to Beyond the Club. It's a project I've been working on with Flinders University. Now I co-host it with Professor Sam Elliott, and we break down all the latest research on how to maximise the experience of junior and club athletes. There's a range of resources, special guests, and cutting-edge info on how you can make your club a safer, happier place for your kids and their club mates. Beyond the Club, wherever you get your podcasts.